Hi! I'm really excited for this one. Everything gets painted black, and look, the chassis is back underneath the car. Let's go. So yeah, with the majority of the fabrication work done, we can kind of like seal up all of this. So I went ahead and I coated everything, like all the bare metal, and a self-etching primer. That stuff you can get from Rust-Oleum, the green stuff. I think that works really well. And then I ran out of that stuff, and then I just went rummaging through all my spray cans and found anything that said primer on it, and basically coated the whole underside. Before I did this, I soaked everything down with 3M degreaser, hit it with my pressure washer and a scrub brush on the end of a drill. Worked out really well, cleaned up really well, but I didn't have a lot of garbage to get rid of, to be honest with you. So I think this is gonna go well. That's gonna get a nice undercoat to it. I'm gonna use that same stuff I used on the inner fenders, the DEI Boom Mat spray-on stuff. And then in the trunk area, I'm gonna use my typical go-to, which is Herculiner truck bed liner. But before I can do that, I need to go ahead and seam seal all of my joints because a lot of them are lap joints. I don't want any moisture getting in there and rusting out. I want this car to last a really long time. So that's what I'm going to tackle next. And what I'm going to use for that, I had this lying around and it still seems to be pretty good. Brushable seam sealer from Eastwood. I'm just going to start coating that stuff on until I basically run out because that's all I have. So, yeah, I'm gonna get to that. I'll update you when that's all finished. All seam sealed up. That half can made it actually pretty far, but I did end up having another can of like black generic seam sealer that I had to go over and do the rest of it. And I know what you're thinking. Wow, it looks like a 4-year-old did it. And you're absolutely right. I didn't really care that much. You can definitely lay down like tape lines and make it clean. But I mean, honestly, it's not gonna matter once I coat it with that textured black. It'll just kind of hide all of the streaks and stuff like that. All in the bottom there. Pretty much everywhere that it needed. Got it. I'm gonna give this another hour or so to like really seal up. And then I'm gonna go ahead and start coating everything. It's been a little bit of time. All that seam seal is nice and set up. Good enough for me to coat on it. Gonna be using DEI Boom Mat spray-on sound deadener as my undercoating. I actually really like the way it turned out on the inner fenders, and it's all on the inside of those fenders there. So this is what I'm gonna use for the undercoating. Yeah, just shake and spray. So it took about 6 cans in order to get decent coverage. I'm gonna go back over it tomorrow with some satin black on the areas that I missed because I know it's kind of thin in some areas because it honestly took so much, but it looks really good. That textured black, you just can't beat it. Next up, got to tackle the trunk area. As you can see, I got it all primed, all on all bare metal, and then I got it all sealed up on all the joints. What I'm going to use for that is Herculiner. Got a little bit left in this can. It's what's basically I had left over from doing the Malibu. I'm just going to use all this up. I got in a whole other kit if need be, which I probably do because she's got a pretty big trunk. So I'm going to mix this up and start throwing it on. First coat's down, looking really nice. You got to give this stuff like 1 to 4 hours in order for it to like really set up. But because it's raining outside right now, I'm going to give it that all of 4 hours because it is just, you know, I just want it to be nice and tacky and dry before I put on the second coat. Not fully dry, you know what I mean. But while I wait for that, I kind of want to paint the interior too. So all this needs to be painted with a rust protectant. And then my whole ceiling too. So I think I'm going to tackle the ceiling first because that makes the most sense. Then after I get 2 coats on there, I will start down here because this stuff takes a lot less time to dry, because I'm going to use the same stuff that I use on the frame, which is the Sweet Patina Blackout Rust Preventative. And then I picked up another one of these. You can literally get these for like $12 on Amazon. And this is definitely the go-to in order to roll this stuff on. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to do the ceiling first. Let that dry. I bet I could get both of this done, the ceiling and the floor done, before I actually have to put the second coat on the trunk area there. So I'm going to get that knocked out right now. Got 2 coats on the ceiling. It looks really good. Even though this is all going to get covered up with a sound deadening headliner material that I got from DEI. I didn't do the floors yet. I did do the front firewall and stuff like that. That's got 2 coats on it as well. I just need to be able to walk in here so I can get the back section here of the truck bed liner section that I'm doing. And this is nice and tacky now. So I can go ahead and do the second coat. So I'm going to get that on, the second coat there, and then I just got to do the floor and paint the cage, and then we're done. It's the next day. Everything is nice and dry, looking real good. Did all the floors. It's nice and dry too. I do want to let this dry for a couple more days, just in case, before I start putting on the sound deadening. Same thing on the roof there. You can see how shiny that is. That is crazy. Next thing I want to do, I was debating actually, if I wanted to assemble the chassis with all the suspension and stuff on it and then roll it underneath and bolt it up. But as you can see, I don't have a lot of room to really do that. So I'm just going to throw the chassis back underneath the car now because, I mean, I can. Everything's pretty much done and ready to be bolted back together. How I'm going to do that, because basically all the old bolts, they snapped off, they broke off, and they're pretty much junk from being 70 years old. Went to my hardware store. I did a bunch of measuring first and made a list. Got a bunch of 7/16 bolts. Some nuts and some washers, and then I got the rubber, the isolator kit. So like these are pretty much what they used for body mounts back in the day, just a thin sheet of rubber from the internet. I would name the website, but I completely forgot. Just Google it, it'll come up. Fairly, I think it was under $100, so not bad. I'm sure you could do the same thing with like a semi, like mud flap or something like that. Cut it up to size and what you needed, and then go off from there, because this is what the old stuff looked like. It's just pretty shot, but as you can see, it's like the what do you call that? Rubber that's all like pushed together. I don't even know, but that's what that is, and this is what this is. So this is what I'm going to replace it with, is the proper stuff. So yeah, frame's actually pretty dirty from just being sitting around, so I'm going to wipe it all down. I'm going to throw a little bit of glue on these and then put them all where they need to be, and then hopefully be able to just put the chassis on, slide it up in there, and bolt it all back together. Everything lined up great. I had to do a little bit of, shifting around in order to make sure everything fit nice, but all the bolts are in with nuts on the end of them, but it's not tight. So I'm going to go through, I'm going to tighten everything up, just work my way around the car until everything is nice and snug and solid and where it's supposed to be. But that went actually really, surprisingly, a lot better than I thought it was gonna. There we have it. Everything is tightened down. I went ahead and cleaned everything up, wiped the car down, just because it's just such a milestone of like getting the chassis back underneath the body. So now it's just basically Legos to put this thing back together. That just gives me huge motivation to like start knocking this thing out. I got the weekend coming up. So my plan is to actually do all the suspension, engine and transmission in, paint the dash, paint the cage, and start with the sound deadening. Hopefully I can get that all knocked out in 2-3 days. And after that, it's just wiring and plumbing. And oh my gosh, I am so excited for that. As always, if you guys made it this far in the video, I really appreciate it. A lot of little tedious things. Obviously, painting isn't the most exciting thing, but such an awesome result when it all starts to come together. Like I said before, I am so excited. I've been so motivated now that this thing is, one unit again. Hit that like, hit that subscribe. Got a lot more coming up. Thanks for watching, guys.